Welcome, investigator. Evil is on the rise. Crime is escalating. Our mission is to eliminate the crime by exposing evil, examine why it manifests, and highlight the brave souls that confront it every day. Join us as we work together to bring justice to every victim. Welcome to All Things Crime. Here's your host, Jared Bradley.
So, based on what you just said,
Yeah,
you think a lot of people that have gone through trauma like this would rather try to suppress it than relive it.
absolutely. It's too painful.
So, but also, from what I'm gathering, you're also saying that no matter what happens, eventually that's going to resurface. And
Well, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to it. Eventually, it will resurface. That I don't know. I just know that in many cases, it does resurface, and it's often triggered or it just comes out of the blue. I imagine in many cases, this is such a nuanced thing. It could resurface as a major explosion like it did, just like bam, hit you over the head. Or it could probably resurface, trickle in little bits of memories over time. But yeah, many people who live with a level of anxiety, which is a more common term, many of them know what it is. They know what they're anxious about. They can even name their fears. And yet they would rather mask it with some alcohol maybe than face it.
so when you first started dealing with the trauma,
Yeah.
and to me, it's astounding that you lived with it that long before you actually were, aggressively addressing it. Is this something that you had help with, or is this just based on your own research and you finally figured out how to do it?
Well, when the memories started coming back, well, okay, so for 14 years when I had all these episodes with no memory, not one, I don't want to shed too much shade on these people because they just don't know, but not one healing professional, from an acupuncturist to a spiritual healer to a doctor, ever said to me, hey, you could be experiencing trauma reliving in your body. Not one. So I had no clue what to do. But when the memories came back, as awful as they were, I was actually grateful because now I knew the source of the pain, right? And fortunately, it took me a few months, but I was able to find a psychologist who specialized in what they call SRA, sexual ritualistic abuse. It's let's say a particular brand of abuse. And she was magical. She taught me all this. She helped me go on this journey, in this magical journey of naming the emotion and helping the little kid heal, helping him create a safe space. Because, right, the one thing that kid wanted is safety. In those journeys that I went on, the thing, other than the knowledge, the thing that helped me the most was, while I was going through it, was to have somebody. It could have been a complete stranger, somebody to hold their hand. Because when you go back in there, when you go back into that trauma in your past, you literally, your mind, you are literally there. And it's important to stay grounded in the present. A lot of these techniques are based on this idea of staying grounded. There's a popular one called EMDR where the therapist will run their finger back and forth and have you follow it with your eye. And the purpose of that is to keep you grounded. Like, hey, I'm sitting on a couch. I'm in a safe environment with somebody while I'm going back to this awful hell. And so in my case, it helped to have anybody, a spouse, a sibling, a child, even a friend, or even in one case, this thing happened to me and I was in a space where there was a complete stranger lady who I asked, could she just sit on the couch with me and hold my hand? Because when they happened to me, they happened. I couldn't stop. And she was gracious and nice. And I had to explain to her while I was going through this, what I was going through. And she got it. She sat there and held my hand as I went. And these episodes, going back into them, often, some were days, some resolved quicker in, let's say, several hours. But yeah, having that safety, that somebody, because when you experience it, it's you are reliving what the kid experienced. And what did the kid want once again? Wanted that hand to hold, wanted that safety. So important.
Wow, boy, I'm just trying to process this.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I'm so far out of my league. It's just scary, Jimmy. I'm I'm in my 50s like you are, and
Yeah.
I feel like I've experienced a lot of life, but I'm one of the fortunate ones that I don't think I've ever been through anything that was remotely as traumatizing as what you're describing. And for the things that I have experienced that have been difficult to mentally process, I think I've dealt with most of that. But so as well, first of all, I think it's important to basically identify what percentage, because you say there's a lot of these monsters, ritualistic and sadistic type people out there. But I would imagine, and I don't know if you actually have a percentage or a number out there, but I would imagine it's actually relatively small, the number of people that can do this. Because I know in crime in general, even as deep as some of these people get with the amount of torture and the pain that they try to, whether it be rage or anything else that they want to inflict on the other person for whatever reason.
Yeah.
A lot of spousal abuse is based on rage, based on anger that, of what the spouse did,
Yeah.
or the children. But you're describing a completely different level where people are actually sexually aroused because of the pain that they're inflicting on their victim. And, it's not an adult victim, it's a child victim. So, the child doesn't even have the ability to really fight back, let alone understand.
That's why they're the ultimate cowards, because they pick on the littlest of the little who can't fight back.
Yeah, I've got 5 kids, and the thought of doing something like that to a 4-year-old, to me, I can't even relate to it. And I guarantee 99% of the people listening or watching this cannot comprehend and cannot relate with doing something that evil to a 4-year-old.
They can't. But I try to do my best to bridge that gap a little bit. So, for instance, if people understand that these pedophile types are literally addicted as they would be to cocaine or something else, that helps. Another thing to understand would be that, especially in the satanic religious cult realm, let's say, there is a little bit of a logic to this. Logic. And that is, to these people, their number one enemy is God. And the person they worship is Satan, if you believe in this stuff, right? Well, they logically sit there and they think, well, what is the one thing we can do to piss off God the most? Well, what is the one thing that God values the most? It would be little children. They're the most pure, the most innocent, the most amazing creatures on this earth. Okay, we're going to take the one thing God values the most, a little child, and we're going to abuse it as bad as we can because it pisses off God. As twisted as that is, that's the way many of them think. Now, back to your numbers thing. If you go to the National Sex Offenders Registry list, you can find out how many of those people live in your neighborhood, let's say. Okay, so in a given state in the United States, you might have an average of, let's say, 200 of these offenders per 100,000 people. So that gives you kind of a number thing. Some states are much higher, like the state of Oregon and Montana might be as high as 700. I don't know why Oregon, who knows? But keep in mind too that those are numbers from people who've been caught and busted. There are a whole lot more out there who have not been caught. So if you look at a mile radius of your neighborhood and you find, okay, there's 20 of these creeps living right in my neighborhood, there's probably, I don't know, 40, 50, maybe even 100 that have not been caught. Well, in a small community of, 30, 40,000 people, a little town, do the numbers. They're in your town. It's not a matter of are they there? They are. And many towns on corridors along major freeways, they become hubs for traffickers. You don't have to traffic a child from, Cambodia to America to be trafficked. You can traffic a child from one creepy organization down the road to another town of creepy organizations that know each other, that want to abuse your child. So I've started a nonprofit called rescue11.org. And our purpose is to go into communities and raise awareness to this fact. We're just getting started, but if any of your listeners are interested in starting a club in your town, we're setting up adult clubs and clubs in high schools. And the purpose is to get, to become a hub to a community and reach out to the mayor's office and to the law enforcement folks and to the legal folks and to the therapists, to other religions who care about this stuff, to other nonprofits, and organize and raise awareness to this fact that these creeps are in your town and these are their tactics. I mean, they will an adult creep will sit in a mall and watch 3 little 11-year-old girls walk by, and they will pay a 10-year-old boy a bunch of money to go befriend those little girls and invite them to a party. They have their tactics of getting kids online, as you know. They'll pretend like they're a 13-year-old girl, yet it's a 45-year-old creep talking to a young girl. And they're good. They're like, like a lion will sit on the sidelines and watch a bunch of wildebeest run by, and they know how to pick out the infirm ones, the aged ones, the young ones, sick ones, the injured ones. These creeps, they're good. They're very good at spotting kids who are more vulnerable and their tactics of getting to them.
Thanks for joining us. Your attention today brings us one step closer to exposing and eliminating the evil that brings crime to our communities. Hit subscribe and share this episode. Together, we will bring justice to every victim.